Hare Krishna. Yeah, I sent, I sent. Or with the Maharaj short teacher, and after that, take the words and they will ask questions. Try to be honest with the person. Be able to hear them. How it goes, and then we go to the 12 minutes. Once it starts, not we stop. But the things are
Gopi Jana Vallabha. No, they're comfortable. Everybody English?
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayana Namaskritya
Devi Saraswati
Devi Vyasa
Adojaya Mudiraya
Nashtapraya Shravadeshu Nityam Bhagavate Bhagavati Uttama
Udreditam mayatayo taravo vinedus tam sarvabhuta priyayam yanimanatosmi.
Rohan, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Text number 6. Just chant the words.
Translation.
Roll chant the words. Nata Sma Te Natha Sada Angri Pankajam Virincha Vairincha Surendra Vandita Arayanam Shema Ichehatam Param Na Yatra Kalaha Prabhave Para Prabhu Natasmate Natha Sadangri Pankajam
Natasmate Natha Sadangri Pankajam.
Natasmate Natha Sadangri Pankajam Virincha Vairincha Surendra Vanditam Virincha Vairincha Surendra Vanditam Parayanam Shema Vichehatam Param Parayanam Shema Vichehatam Param Nayatra Kala Prabhade Paraprabhu Nayatra Kala Prabhade Paraprabhu Natasmate Natha Sadangri Pankajam Virincha Vairincha Surendra Vanditam
Virincha Vairincha Surendra Vanditam.
Parayanam Shema Vichehatam Param Nayatra Kala Prabhade Paraprabhu
Natasmate Natha Sadangri Pankajam Virincha Vairincha Surendra Vanditam Parayanam Shema Vichehatam Param Nayatra Kala Prabhavet Para Prabhu
पलायनं क्षेममेतदं परम् नायत्र कालः प्रभवेत् परा प्रभुः
अस्मते नाथ सदाङ्गं
नाथ सदांग्रि पंकजम जवैरिंच सुरेंद्र वंदितम परायणं निक्षेममित्येतं परम् नायत्र कालः प्रभवेत् परा प्रभुः नतास्माते नाथ सदांग्रि पंकजम विरिंच वैरिंच सुरेंद्र वंदितम परायणं क्षेममित्येतं परम् नायत्र कालः
Bow down. Smile. We have done so. They unto you. Natha, the Lord. Sada, always. Angri Pankajam, the lotus feet. Virincha, Brahma, the first living being. Varincha, sons of Brahma, like Sanat and Sanatan. Surendra, the king of heaven. Vandita, worshipped by. Parayana, the supreme. Shema, the fair. Iha, in this life. Ichatam, one who so desires. Param, the highest. Na, never. Yatra, wherein. Kala, inevitable time. Pravale, can exert its influence. Para, transcendental. Prabhu, the Supreme Lord. Translation by His Divine Grace, Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Prabhupada. The citizens said, O Lord, you are worshipped by all demigods like Brahma, the four sanas, and even the King of Heaven. You are the ultimate rest for those who are really aspiring to achieve the highest benefit of life. You are the Supreme Transcendental Lord, and inevitable time cannot exert its influence upon you. Purport. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna has confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Samhita, and other authorized Vedic literatures. No one is equal to or greater than Him. And that is the verdict of all scriptures. The influence of time and space is exerted upon the dependent living entities for all parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. The living entities are predominated Brahman, whereas the Supreme Lord is the predominating Absolute. As soon as we forget this clear fact, we are at once in illusion, and thus we are put into threefold miseries, as one is put into dense darkness. The clear consciousness of the cognizant living being is God consciousness, in which one bows down unto Him in all circumstances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Natasmatinata sadangvitam kajam virincha varincha surendra vanditam parayanam shemam ihechatam param nayatra kala pravadeshvara prabhu. The citizens said, "O Lord, you are worshipped by all demigods like Brahma, the four sons, and even the King of Heaven. You are the ultimate rest for those who are really aspiring to achieve the highest benefit of life. You are the supreme transcendental Lord, and inevitable time cannot exert its influence upon you." Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Budaya Srimad Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guravani Pracharani Nirvishesha Shubhavana Ashtataveshvara Panchakalpatarudeshya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Vishwambaro Vijavaro Yudhidhara Sanjeevayate Kila Shakti Darak Swadham Anyam Shahasya Charanam Shavana Bhava Pranam Bhagavate Purusha. So very fortunate today that this opportunity to discussion about the highest Vedic literature. And at the beginning, before we start discussing this particular verse, the next verses after that, I would like to speak a little bit about the whole scheme of Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the scheme of this first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the introduction to the whole book. And the purpose of introduction is for us to understand the topic of the book and to prepare us to assimilate the book. It basically says in gist what the whole book is all about, and specifically how we should approach to this story, how we should understand this story. Because the topic of this book is very difficult to understand. Nobody can understand God. Not to speak about God, we cannot understand even our wife, husband, how he thinks, what he thinks. We want to speak about God. And therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is very emphatic in this regard, and Srimad Bhagavatam says that you can only love. If you love, then love. Of course, love and then some sort of understanding will come to your heart, and you will be in sync with the person. And Srimad Bhagavatam is about this, how to become in sync. Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita very beautifully says that we are living entities and therefore we have our desires, our will. And it's not a question of cutting off our desires, really all for suppressing our will. It's a question of cooperation with the Lord. We have to bring our will in harmony with the will of the Lord. Our problems is that we think we are independent, and therefore we have all these independent desires, and these independent desires are the source of our miseries in this world. So the whole idea of spiritual life is how to understand God and what He wants. And to want what He wants, we're still free. We still want, we still have our desires, but we're bringing our desires in harmony with the desires of the Lord. And in this way, we become happy all of a sudden. This is the highest kshema. Here in this verse, it says, kshema. All these people, in India, they say, yoga kshema, yoga kshema. They all want yoga and kshema. And yeah, it's natural. There's nothing wrong with it. We want kshema, we want the highest benefit, but it's a question how to understand who brings this yoga and kshema to us. Like I was in Delhi once, and there was a big billboard, advertisement board, and it was written there, yoga kshema vahanya. And it was an advertisement. The bank will bring you yoga and kshema. Yeah, the bank will take your yoga and kshema. That's what they are expert. But Krishna is our yoga and kshema. God is yoga and kshema. He gives yoga and kshema to us. And He says it very clearly, yoga kshema vahana. So we all have this desire to be prosperous, to be happy in this world. But how to be happy? It's simple in one sense. It's very difficult in another sense. To be prosperous and happy in this world, we have to harmonize our individual being, our individual will, individual understanding, individual consciousness, this consciousness of God. And this is how Prabhupada explains here, is the original consciousness, the real consciousness. The real consciousness is that we are one in consciousness with God. We think the same way, we view the world the same way, we relate with other living beings the same way as He relates. And then everything will become harmonious, and then we will go to the spiritual world where everyone is happy and yoga kshema, and there is no time there, and we just enjoy eternal dwaraka all the time. Better, of course, in Vrindavan, if you all like to. That's a detail, very important detail for us Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But still, from the general point of view, it's a detail. So this is the idea of Srimad Bhagavatam, how to understand God and how to understand what He wants, who He is. And this very complicated book is about this. The book is extremely complicated. It's a very philosophical book. Highest philosophy is there, very difficult to understand. Therefore, the first canto, and this is what I wanted to explain a little bit, is describing what should be our qualification to understand this book. This first canto is describing the methodology to understand this book. Because in the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam is repeated 3 times. There is a description of this initial scene of the beginning about the speaker and the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam 3 times. In the beginning, it's Sutta Goswami and Shona Tarisha, sages of Naimisharanya. And there, it's very elaborately described what is the qualification of Sutta Goswami, why he can speak Bhagavad, who is eligible to speak Bhagavad. And then also, the qualification of Shona Tarisha is there, and the sages of Naimisharanya is there. Then, this is the first 3 chapters. Then the next 3 chapters is, again, the Srimad Bhagavatam and success in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, when the first scene of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is described, it's really clear whether the sages of Nirvana achieved the ultimate success. It's not totally. In the next 4, 5, and 6 chapters, there is a description how first Narada Muni talking with Vyasadeva, and Narada Muni is the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva is talking about Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vyasadeva is receiving Srimad Bhagavatam, which he will reveal to the world. And that's definitely a very successful story, because ultimately Vyasadeva will reveal the real Srimad Bhagavatam. So it basically means that he understands the Srimad Bhagavatam, he understands Krishna. And then this story also how little Narada Muni as a son of maid servant heard Srimad Bhagavatam from the sages. And in this instance, Narada Muni is the hearer, and 4 Kumaras or whatever Bhakti Vijnana, they are speakers of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then ultimately, the rest of the first canto is about Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva, the original highest speaker and the highest hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, reading this first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, one very important point is to understand, what is the qualification of the speaker, because we should not hear Srimad Bhagavatam indiscriminately. It's not that, in the next corner, of course, I don't know, there are probably not so many corners are there, the Srimad Bhagavatam is recited. But if you go to Navadvip or Vrindavan, practically in every second house there is a recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, first of all, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam warns us, don't hear Srimad Bhagavatam from anyone. And Srila Prabhupada repeats this again and again and again. The process to bring about success has to be scientific. And for that, certain qualifications or certain conditions should be in place. So, we have to really understand the qualification of the speaker. But more important for us, even more important for us, how we should hear. What should be our qualification to understand Srimad Bhagavatam? In one of the purports of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains that ultimately, if all these conditions are in place, you will be able to meet Krishna on the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's a very strong statement. And it has to be understood literally. It's not that, you will have some, you will meet Krishna in person on the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. You will interact with, and that's the idea of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we meet face to face with God by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, so that the tears will flow from our eyes, the hands stand erect in our body, and we will just, our voice falter, and so on and so forth. It's really about darshan of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam is the darshan book, and darshan is a philosophy, but darshan is also darshan. We see Krishna face to face. So, and therefore these stories are incorporated or included in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sripad Vallabhacharya, he explains very beautifully that there are these 3 pairs of speakers and hearers of Srimad Bhagavatam. They are progressively higher and higher and higher. The first pair is Nishtha. The sages, and of course, Nishtha doesn't mean they're small, but it's initial qualifications. Speakers should be knowledgeable. Speakers should be obedient to his master. Speakers should be, this is all qualifications which are described there in the beginning. Should be expert in all branches of knowledge. He should be expert in all philosophies. It's all said there that this is the qualification of Sutta Goswami. And hearers, they're really eager to hear. Their only qualification is actually eagerness to bring welfare to everyone. Actually, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we are bringing welfare to the whole world. That's the ultimate yagya. This is the yagya which has to be done. So this is the Nishtha qualification, the minimal qualification. And why it is minimal? Because ultimately there is no involvement of the Supreme Lord. There is no so much mercy of the Supreme Lord in this. It's just meeting. You know, they met the qualified speaker. It's the mercy itself. It's a very high mercy. But if we see other pairs, we will see that the Supreme Lord is much more involved personally in their lives. Narada Muni and Vyasadeva, or Narada Muni and the sages, Bhakti Vedantas, that's another. This is Madhyama. This is the intermediate qualification. Higher qualification. Again, we see the compassion from the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam. He is unsatisfied, he is unfulfilled, he feels unfulfilled, Vyasadeva feels unfulfilled. And that's a very important qualification for us to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Something is really missing in my life. I'm not fulfilled. You know, yes, I achieved, I have this bank balance, and I have my wife, and I have my children, and I have my car, and I have whatever little is there, and little enjoyment here and there. But you know, still something is not, it's not really, I'm not happy. So this understanding that I'm not happy is very important qualification for the hearer. And the understanding that we can become happy, savai pumsam parodharmoya gavaktirat oksate. Ahaitukya pratihata yatma suprasidati. Atma, the soul, can be happy only if this bhakti, ahaitukya pratihata bhakti, will be established in the heart. So this understanding should be there, and this is Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. I can get it from Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya by hearing Bhagavatam again and again and again and again and again. Like Radha Govinda Maharaj, one of the illustrious disciples of Srila Prabhupada, his whole life he was only reading Srimad Bhagavatam. He doesn't read anything else. He just starts Srimad Bhagavatam, finishes Srimad Bhagavatam, and then begins Srimad Bhagavatam again, and reads again, reads again, reads again, and now he is in the last stage of his life, and he, sometimes he sees Srimati Radharani in complete transcendental consciousness of the time. That's how he is, and he's very happy in this stage of life. So this is the qualification of the hearer, and the speaker, of course, is Narada Muni, is highly qualified, and he's and definitely the involvement of the Supreme Lord is very high in this case. But then when we come to the highest, the Uttama, speaker and hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit, we can see that the mercy of the Lord is flowing upon them. And it's very important qualification of the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam is his renunciation. Because when we see how first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describes Sukadeva Goswami, what is the striking quality of Sukadeva Goswami as the original speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam is his vairagya. He is so renounced, he goes naked, and then he sees some women who are, bathing and playing in the water, and they are naked. And they don't even care about him, because he's so renounced. And Vyasadeva follows by, and Vyasadeva is old, and he's really wrinkled. And they become ashamed, and they put their clothes in. And Vyasadeva asked them, why you didn't put clothes when you saw my beautiful young, effulgent son, who is 16 years old? And they say, because he's so renounced. They can feel it. So this renunciation, and of course, why renunciation is there? Renunciation is not a renunciation. We are not glorify here to glorify Vairagya. We're here to glorify his attachment to the Lord. He's so attached to the Lord that he's completely renounced to this whole world. He can care less about this world. He just, this world is not attractive for him. Why? Ikam Buddha Gunam Hari, because he feels these qualities of gunas, qualities of the Lord. Ikam Buddha Gunam. He's completely absorbed. He's there. His consciousness is not here, not in this world. His consciousness is with the Lord, with Krishna. So that's the qualification of the highest speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the most important is the qualification of the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit, because the last, how many is this? The last 12 chapters of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In first 6, practically, qualification of Shukadeva Goswami is just a little bit in the 7th chapter and a little bit in the 19th. 12th chapter is qualification of Maharaj Parikshit. It's the story of Maharaj Parikshit. So how important it is for us to understand who is Maharaj Parikshit, because while understanding who he is, we will be able to hear Srimad Bhagavatam with the same eagerness as he. First of all, what is the first qualification of Maharaj Parikshit? He knows he will die. Unfortunately, we don't know that he died. As crazy as we are. Ahani Bhutani Gashanti Haya Malayam Yam Yam Stavaram Chanti Kimashkarya Madakaram. Maharaj says, what is more amazing in this world that everyone knows that he will die, but nobody believes it. No, I will be an exception from the rule. Somehow or other, I will escape from it. He knows. And he asked this question, Vriyamanasya, what should be the person who is in the process of dying, what he should do? Srila Prabhupada, of course, translates it on the verge of dying. But literally, the Sanskrit word Mriyamana means the one who is dying. It's present continuous. And who is dying? Us are dying. We are dying. We are now in the process of dying. We may think, it will not be so soon. It will be sooner than you expect. Because nobody expects that it will come. But we are in the process. What should we do? We have to understand, this is the kshema. If we want to have kshema in our life, if we really want to be prosperous and happy in our life, we have to understand that we are dying. And then the kala, it's actually the topic of this particular verse, that the kala, we are the influence of kala, of this eternal time. And we will be devoured by this time. The time will just, that's it, no more. Such and such does. And all of a sudden you become such and such. You're lucky human being. So that's the qualification of Maharaj Parikshit, and of course he's definitely, completely, totally surrendered to the Lord. His only desire in life is to see the Lord. That's why he's called Parikshit. Parikshit means the one who is looking for the Lord. And we are all supposed to be Parikshits. We're all supposed to look for the Lord. To search for Him. And to see whether this is the Lord or this is not the Lord. That was his qualification. And therefore, when he hears about the Lord, he just all attention. He says, I don't want to eat, I don't want to drink, I don't want to sleep. I just want to hear again and again and again how you describe the Lord. And of course, when we compare it to ourselves, we definitely want to eat and we definitely want to sleep while hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes it happens. Nishtha Prayesha Vadresha, all what is disturbing to the heart disappears and you sleep very peacefully during the lecture of Srimad Bhagavatam. But, the point here is that this eagerness. It is a very important characteristics of this. And ultimately, it's also interesting because we will have to come ultimately to this 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. While describing the story of Maharaj Pariksit, so that we understand who he is, who this, who this hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, in whose case we can be 100% sure that his hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam was successful. 7 days, not much more. Even Sanatana Goswami said that actually he actually listened to Srimad Bhagavatam only 4 days, because this is what it takes. For 4 days he listened to Srimad Bhagavatam, he was completely prepared. He was absolutely happy. He didn't even wait for the Takshak to come. His soul went straight to the spiritual world, and Takshak did his duty and with him. But that was already after his soul left. He was completely happy, completely free from fear. Can we say that we are free from fear of death? If somebody will come to us and say, you have a cancer now, oh my goodness, we will be frantic, we will be like Durvasa Muni, running all over the universe trying to find some protection for this. But, this is the success. Success of Srimad Bhagavatam, you become fearless. It's actually his question, what somebody who is dying at the moment, in the process of dying, what he should do to become free from fear. And he says, he gives a very simple answer to this, Sukadeva Goswami, just hear about the Lord and, describe about the Lord and remember about the Lord. But the question is how? How to do it? How to hear? How to describe about the Lord? How to remember about the Lord? That's the thing. And while describing this whole story of Maharaj Pariksit, Sutta Goswami, who is the speaker of this first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he describes so many other topics. Seemingly, apparently unrelated to the main topic. The main topic is to, explain to us about Maharaj Pariksit. And in the meantime, he describes the prayers of Queen Kunti and Bhishmadev passing away and Krishna living Hastinapur and Krishna coming to Dwaraka, and then Dhritarashtra living from this world, and then Pandavas living, Krishna living from this world, Pandavas living from this world, and then only Maharaj Pariksit comes on the scene. And the whole story about Maharaj Pariksit is there. Yeah, and of course, birth of Maharaj Pariksit in 12th chapter. So, but in the meantime, he still teaches us the same thing. By all this Upakhana, all these side stories, Sutta Goswami is driving the same point to us. He wants to explain to us what are the qualities of Krishna's devotees. What is the quality of Queen Kunti? Because she could very well be also the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam and would also be very successful in her case. What is the quality of Bhishmadev? What is the quality of Pandavas? And what is the quality of Dhritarashtra, which is not really what we should follow. And he's also very clear that, don't follow Dhritarashtra. This is not, he's a hero of Srimad Bhagavatam, but not exactly the best hero. Anyway, so while describing this and then coming and going of the Lord, we will come here to this point. But what I want to say is that while describing this, there are 3 things. Describing these stories about the devotees of the Lord, there's 3 things we should understand. One is the mercy of Krishna upon them. The mercy of Krishna upon Vishnu. How he became personally involved in his life. The mercy of Krishna upon Kunti. The mercy of Krishna upon Pandavas. And even the mercy of Krishna upon Dhritarashtra, when he sent Vidura to him save him and then die. And of course, mercy of Krishna upon Maharaj Parikshit. That's the first thing. Second thing is jnana of the devotee, the knowledge of the devotees. How devotees understand the Lord. Because while describing, for example, the prayers of Queen Kunti, what is being described? How she understands the Lord, right? That's the main topic of her prayers. And while describing Bhishmadev, what is being described? The prayers of Bhishmadev before his passing away, what is being described? His knowledge of the Lord, his understanding of God, his understanding of Krishna, how he sees Krishna, how he remembers his Vrindavan pastimes. It's amazing. You know, Bhishmadev, warrior, Pitamaha Bhishma, you know, who is in Ras with Krishna. He says, yeah, he says all this, God is there enjoying Krishna. And this is his knowledge, and this is deep knowledge, because whatever you remember at the moment of death has to be very deeply ingrained in your consciousness. If you think that you will remember about the Lord because you heard that you're supposed to remember about the Lord in the moment of death, you're wrong, because you have to deserve to remember about the Lord. You will remember some garbage, most probably, because the garbage is not deeply ingrained in your consciousness and the memories of the Lord. You know, there was one devotee, he was describing, he went into Mayapur and he was drowning in Ganga. And he realized that he's drowning because Ganga is very dangerous. It's, you know, there are some whirlpools. You know, he was sucking in deep down, and he understood that he's totally helpless. And you know, he tried to remember something, but only thing which he remembered is some advertisement of some washing powder. This is the only thing which came to his mind. Somehow or other, this samskara was the deepest one. And he knew that he's supposed to remember about Krishna. Luckily, he didn't die at this moment, otherwise he would become washing powder. I don't know. or advertisement agent or whatever. So the point is that you really have to deserve to remember about the Lord. And here it is described, you know, while describing the life of Bhishmadev, it is described that, you know, he remembered about the Lord at the moment of death. It was so difficult for him, so painful for him. You know, his whole body is totally emaciated, there's no blood in his body. And he still remembers about the Lord. If we have little headache, we cannot remember about the Lord. We only remember the headache. He is, you know, totally, completely agonizing in his deathbed. And he remembers about the Lord. Why? Because this is his quality, this is his knowledge. When we say that this is the knowledge, you know, as I said, in this 12 chapters of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, what is very important to understand, the knowledge of the devotees of the Lord. Their impressions, how they understand, what is, and knowledge doesn't mean theoretical knowledge. Knowledge means experience. Their interaction with the Lord, how they experience the Lord. Because when Queen Kunti tells Krishna, send me all these troubles, she says, you know, that's your experience. Because she understands that, you know, in the most dangerous situation, the Lord comes, appears, and then you become completely happy, this and that. So the knowledge is there, and vairagya is there. So as I said, three topics are very important when we talk about the devotees of the Lord. The mercy of Krishna upon them, mercy of Krishna upon Bhishma, Kunti, Pandavas, Dhritarashtra, the knowledge of the Lord, how they understand the Lord, what is their understanding, what is their experience in interaction with the Lord, and their renunciation, vairagya from the world, or their attachment to Krishna. Why vairagya is important? Because vairagya is an external sign of their attachment to Krishna. Why the whole chapter is there, how Maharaj Nishtha and all the Pandavas, all this Mahaprastham chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam, how they just left the world and went to Himalayas and went to the spiritual world to depict or to describe their vairagya. But not vairagya as such, their attachment to the Lord. This whole Mahaprastham Lila is very interesting. It's coming here in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, but in between, there are two chapters which we are describing now. I'm really sorry that it takes so long, but I hope it's okay. What we're talking about. So, this departure of the Lord from Hastinapur, which is the previous chapter, and coming of Krishna to Dwarka. It's two very important chapters in the whole scheme of this first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, because there's two leelas of the Lord leaving his devotees and the Lord coming to his devotees are very important. Gamanam and Agamanam. Gamanam and Agamanam. Because Lord always does this. That's the nature of the Lord. Bharata Muni in his Natya Shastra, he very importantly says that Nari Nari Pralambina Samyoga Pushtir Ashnute. Without Vipralamba, without separation, there cannot be really meeting. The meeting is not nourished. The feelings and the meetings are not nourished. If you always with somebody, at one point you become familiar and you become little neglectful to him. But then he leaves and then comes back and leaves and then comes back and then Samboga Pushtirasana. The nourishment of meeting is only there because the separation is there. Therefore, Lord always leaves his devotees. Sometimes people cannot understand how Krishna could leave all this goddess and then now he is so cruel. No, he's not cruel. He knows what he's doing. He knows that this is the way to bring the highest happiness to the heart of the devotee. Without separation, there will be no happiness in meeting. And therefore, these two chapters to describe that it's always there, this dynamic, and how should be the meeting and how should be the separation. What we should feel during the separation and what should be the feelings during the meeting. That's extremely important topic. Because in some sampradayas, like in Harivallabha Sampradaya, or in Nimbarka Sampradaya, they speak about Nitya Vihar. They say, Krishna never separates with his devotees. Nitya Vihar, always together with their devotees. He never leaves Radharani. And they say, this is the highest. And they say, no, this is not the highest. This is very high, but not the highest. The highest is that when Krishna leaves and then comes back, and then he leaves and then comes back. And then every time the feelings which you have towards the Lord is fresh. Every time you're meeting him as if you're meeting him for the first time. Oh, here he is. Oh my goodness, here he is. This sort of understanding is very important, and therefore in previous chapter it is said that Kunti and the Draupadi and all the women in Hastinapur, they were fainting when the Lord was leaving. They were fainting. Here we are in the presence of Shri Radha Govinda. So before leaving this temple, you have to faint, or at least fake the pain. And then, okay, bye-bye. See you next Sunday. Anyway, the point is that here we are. Lord is leaving. And then, but what I want to explain here is that while reading this, we have to, in Natya Shastra, it's called, in Kavya literature, it's called Sadaranikarana. Sadaranikarana means identification or equalization of feelings. By reading Srimad Bhagavatam, it's very important for us to identify with those persons in Srimad Bhagavatam who are there. Without this identification, we really have to see Krishna by their eyes. Otherwise, it will be very boring. You know, here we are, what we are here we are, we really have to transport our consciousness into Dwaraka 5,000 years back and understand how the citizens in Dwaraka, they, you know, the Lord was there and they loved him. And then he went away and for a few months he was away from them. And then all of a sudden they hear and they were completely morose and they were, you know, they were bored and they lost their life, basically. And then all of a sudden they hear the sound of Krishna's conch. Krishna is there, and they know this is Panchajanya. This is his conch. It's a very special conch, you know, they hear this voice. And not so good in imitating all this sound, you know, but this deep sound of conch is there. And their blood starts pumping and their heart is beating and they are just running to see the Lord. And they see the Lord and they see his beautiful face, his big, big eyes, his curly hairs and his smiling face is beautiful. He's there. And, you know, there is so much you know, love is emanating from him. All those people who have fans of some, you know, some pop stars or cinema stars. I remember I was in an opening temple in Ujjain, and as a guest of honor, Aishwarya Rai came to this function. Oh my goodness, the whole city of Ujjain came just to see her. Not because of the temple, but because of Aishwarya Rai is there. Because they wanted to see her, you know, just close by. Krishna is more beautiful than Aishwarya Rai. They say. I don't know, I cannot testify, but you know, he's so beautiful. So they all ran to see him. They all run to see his beautiful face because, you know, when somebody is beautiful, you just look and you cannot turn away. You just see how beautiful he is. So they're running to him and, you know, they're bringing something, some little thing, some, you know, some useless stuff, whatever it is, just to greet him because this is the Vedic culture. You know, if you love somebody, you run to see him and you're there and you give him something, some coconut or whatever, as if he doesn't have coconuts. But still, you know, you give him coconut. It's just a gesture of your heart. It's just a feeling of your heart. You know, I just want to give something. So here we are. Actually, while reading this Srimad Bhagavatam, we can only understand Srimad Bhagavatam if we understand it from emotional point of view. It's not the book of dry knowledge of some Sanskrit, you know, somebody this and that. No. Srimad Bhagavatam is all about bhav. Srimad Bhagavatam is about feeling, and it helps us to develop the same feelings in our heart. That's the point. We have to educate and to train our heart to develop certain feelings towards the Lord. And that's why, Nishtha prayeshva bhadrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya. If we hear Bhagavatam again and again and again, some feeling will come, some attraction will come. The deep samskara will come, and then we will remember about the Lord. We will remember about the Lord when we chant. Why we cannot just chant without reading Srimad Bhagavatam? Or why we cannot just read Srimad Bhagavatam without chanting? No, both should be there. Why? Because we read Srimad Bhagavatam, and we should get some feelings from Srimad Bhagavatam, and then when we chant with the feelings. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. We really have to practice. Srimad Bhagavatam gives us emotions, but then we have to practice this emotion. We have to repeat these emotions again and again and again. The holy name has to be united or connected or imbued with the emotions. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. That will be the success of the whole thing. And therefore, here we see, and as I said, the devotees, when they read the Lord, they have feelings and they have knowledge. And they express their knowledge and their feelings in their prayers. What is prayers? Prayers is knowledge and feelings together, merged together, fused together. So here we started the sixth verse of the 11th chapter, and there are 4 verses of prayers of the citizens. And at the end of the chapter will be meeting of Krishna with the queens of Dwaraka. But what is important here in these verses, in these prayers, is that the feelings which they express are very general. They're not very specific. Sometimes people, they go and they hear about Bhakti Gita or whatever, and their body express very specific emotions towards the Lord. And of course, if the speaker is very qualified, he may transmit a tiny atomic particle of these emotions within our heart, and we will feel the same. And that's the art of speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, transmitting the emotions. But what is good about these prayers, it's kind of general prayer. They're not very high. And it's a defect in one sense, because we definitely want highest. But it's an advantage for us because we can relate to this. We can relate to these feelings. So what we will try to do now, we will try to read for the rest of the time these prayers more carefully and see what are these feelings and whether we can reproduce the same feelings, whether we have the same feelings. Because again, it's a very general sort of relationship, not very specific. In the next verse, the citizens of Dwaraka will say, you are our mother, you are our father, you are our protector, you are this, you are that. It basically means, no specific relationship. It basically means, you are, thank you very much, you're there, you're protecting us. This protection is there. So let's read again this verse which we read today, and then let's see how we will progress. I will try to understand this, and again, try to relate this. Natah smatenatha sadangri pankajam virinche vairinche surendra vanditam parayanam kshemam iha ichhatam param na yatra kala prabhavet parah prabhu. Okay, so Prabhupada explains these feelings expressed in this verse in the purport, and he basically says that we have to understand that there is the Supreme Lord. And therefore the first word in their prayers is Natah, we bow down. And not only we bow down, we have done so unto you, O Natha, the Lord. Natah smatenatha sadangri pankajam. Really, basically, what it means that understanding, I'm very small and I really need protection. a really big protection. I am not independent. I need somebody who will help me in all regards. Do we need this? We definitely need. We definitely need. And therefore we bow down. We say, yes, I am yours. We are at your lotus feet, Panangri. And not only we, all the living entities, starting with Brahma, they are all doing the same. Surrendra Vanditam. Vanditam means they are offering prayers to you. All the living beings are offering prayers to you. And it's interesting because ultimately every living being is praying to somebody. I am a living proof of it. I was born in Soviet Union, Russia, and the Soviet Union, you were not supposed to pray. It was forbidden because there is no God. Official religion, atheism. No God. The only God is Lenin. He is there. He is eternal. His body is there in mausoleum. And have his darshan, no problem. He will fulfill all your desires. He will become happy. Sometime in the future, not now, but definitely in the future. He will provide for all your needs, this and that. But I remember, amazingly enough, when I was a small kid, I was always praying. I was always praying. No, I don't know to whom I was praying, but to somebody I was praying. Because the prayer is the need of the human heart. And we understand that, we are not all in all, that we are not, that we are dependent, we will pray. And we may not know who is God, but we pray just in case, Maybe he's Lenin, no problem. If he can protect and fulfill our desires. And basically that's what they say. The whole universe is praying to you. Vanditam. Virincha Vairincha Surendra Vanditam. Surendra, he's the God of all gods. Surendra. He's, all the suras are praying to him, but he's praying to somebody else. There is, in other words, there is an ultimate somebody. And we should pray to this ultimate somebody. And we should bow down to him, ultimate somebody. We should find for him who is the highest of all. Parayanam Kshemam Nihechatam Param. And what is this Parayanam Kshemam? What is this highest Kshema? Highest welfare? Highest good, which why we pray? Because we want this Ichatam. Because we want this Kshema. Who doesn't want Kshema? Does anyone who wants Kshema? We all want Kshema, right? We all want to be prosperous, we want to be happy, we want to be... But why he can give Kshema? It's very important. What is Kshema? Because different people, they have different understandings of what Kshema. Some people say Kshema if I have $1 million. Is it Kshema? Yeah, for some people it is. Kshema if I have beautiful wife. Kshema if I have 10 children. Kshema if I have, whatever. If so many followers I have. Now, so many people have different feelings. But what is the highest Kshema? This is my question to you. Why people want money? Because money will give them protection. Why people want children and wife? Because they think that children and wife give them some protection. When they will become old, there will be somebody who will take care of them, right? Why people want followers? Again, because it brings some protection. So the highest Kshema is to be protected, isn't it? And who can give protection? Somebody who is protecting himself. And what is the greatest fear in this life? Time. Time, isn't it? Why astrologers are so popular? Because everyone is afraid. Dear astrologer, tell me what I should do, which stone I should wear here, I can wear everywhere. Give me protection. Fear, 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 fear. Time, time, time. Time is bringing fear to everyone. And therefore, this is what they say. You are capable of bringing highest Shema, highest benefit, highest welfare to all of us because you are free from the influence of time. You are the only one who is free from the influence of time. Everyone else is under the sway of time. Under the, the time cannot exert its influence upon you. Therefore, you can protect us. Therefore, you can give Shema. Therefore, we worship you. Therefore, we pray to you. So that's basically the meaning. And therefore, you're Prabhu. Prabhu means you're great. You're powerful. You're capable of giving us what we need to do. So that's the prayer. Again, it's not very high prayer from the rasa point of view. Quite selfish prayer, but still we should start somewhere. It's good to say Nadanam Najanana Sundarim Kadikam Vajagavishikamaye Mama Janmani Janmani. It's nice sentiment, but who feels this way? We come to the Lord and say, Nadanam, please don't give me money. Please. Not this. Not Jana, no, not Jana, no followers, please don't do this. It's a good prayer for certain people who are on this level of consciousness, on this level of spiritual experience. But we have to start somewhere. Where will we start? We start from this understanding, I need protection. And that means surrender. That means Sharanagati. I need protection. Oh my Lord, please protect me. You are the only one. Basically, the meaning of this, the internal meaning, the feeling, the emotional meaning, the emotional essence of this prayer, you are the only one who can do it. Nobody else can do it. My wife, unfortunately, cannot do it. Only fortunately. My bank cannot protect me. Government cannot protect me. Narendra Modi cannot protect me. Nobody else can protect me. Doctors cannot protect me. You are the only one who can. And therefore I praying to you. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, So that's the emotion which is there. And this is what Prabhupada also explains here. That the clear consciousness means we understand who we are. And there is a Lord. Like while coming here, I was speaking with some train. Somebody came, he's a Muslim, he happened to be Muslim. But initially, he started speaking something which was very talkative. So, and he asked me how long we're going to be in India. I said, for some time, God only knows. Whatever God wants. He said, God? He was very surprised because he knew I'm from Russia. God? And then we started talking about God. And then, I said, do you believe in God? He said, no, I'm confused. I'm confused. I don't know. My parents told me that there is God, but I don't know myself. I said, let's talk logic. Let's not talk religion. He's a computer engineer. I asked him. You're a computer engineer. Can computer appear itself through the evolutionary process from the garbage pile? There is some evolutionary processes in the garbage pile, and there's some wind blows, and then all of a sudden the Apple computer comes from that garbage. He said, no, it's not very plausible. He said, our body is much more complex than any computer. Can it appear like this? He said, yeah. So there must be some intelligence there. He says, yeah, there must be some intelligence. And then I asked him, if this intelligence, if you have the computer and you don't know what computer is, can you figure out what this is all about? He said, maybe. I said, no, you will never figure it out. You have to ask somebody who created this computer to understand. Or even if you figure out something a little bit, you will never be able to use the computer in the full capacity. So this body is a computer created by somebody, and you should ask somebody who created this body for what he created this body. Otherwise, we're just using this body, using this computer, which is very precious, in a very completely stupid way. If somebody doesn't know for what computer, how he will use computer? He will use computer as the way, you know, to keep his papers in the table or whatever it is. You know, but computer is not for this. Computer is to educate us about that. And therefore, Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is just clear consciousness. It's just consciousness of real understanding. Here I am small, I was created by somebody, he knows what for, therefore, you know, I have meaning only if I function in this relationship. This is God and this is I, and He created me. So I am a part, I am not the whole. And part only has meaning if it's within the whole. If you take any spare part from the car, does it have any meaning in itself? Only within the car it has any meaning. So the same with us. We are only, our life has only meaning if you are connected with the Lord. And if you serve the Lord and if you serve the creation of the Lord. So basically that's it. Therefore Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is nothing artificial, it's just clear consciousness. It's not a religion. It's not a religion. It's just very rational understanding. There is God and there is me. And what is the relationship between me and God? Now I'm subordinate to Him. And therefore I bow down to Him, I pray to Him, I protection. Simple. That's the meaning of the first verse. I'm really sorry that it took me so long to explain it. But what's your so ask questions?
So do you want to tell them more verses or we have some questions and then we can
We can go one by one. We can go one by one. Because I'm already talking too long. I don't like it. So
okay, anybody has questions there? I can get you up. Hare Krishna, online, anybody has a question? Rohan, you have any question?
very good.
You are muted, all of you are muted. Unmute yourself and ask. Can I ask?
सर दो मिनट दीजिए सर, वो लिख रहा हूँ मैं थोड़ा सा.
क्वेश्चन लिख रहे हैं, ठीक है? हाँ.
Yeah, just one. I read this Krishna taking departure from Hastinapur and going to Dwarka, and later on that he winds up in the 11th canto, that he winds up all the Yadus, he kills them or they kill among themselves, and there are explanations for that. Some version says that because they became little arrogant later on, became proud, and other explanation is that they were so close to Krishna, they cannot be killed. They were all from spiritual world, and they went back with him. That's why this all drama he just constructed. That is one question. One thing that I could not understand, what was the actual reason for winding up these Yadus from Dwarka. The second question is that comes to my mind, that in that kingdom in Dwarka, there were many citizens who might not be knowing that Krishna is a god, and whether they are the candidate for liberation because they saw Krishna face to face, whether they are candidates for liberation.
The first question is why the whole Lila is there. First of all, we have to understand that this lila is kritrim lila. It's artificial lila. It's not. It's illusory lila. It really didn't happen. Acharyas, they explain there are two lilas which are of this category. It's like this, like they say that some magician comes and he shows some magic. It's hypnosis. You know, for the whole world, for the spectators of this, you know, yadus, they drank and then they started killing each other, which is really, I mean, horrible thing. You know, how is that possible that, you know, all these elevated Vaishnavas, you know, they become completely drained, and, you know, they took all this, you know, iron rods and started killing each other, and, you know, the blood all over. So the Acharya says, this was just an illusion. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains, he gives a little story that there was a magician and he came to a king's court and, you know, he showed some magic, and then at the end of the magic, you know, very amazing magic, and at the end of the magic, the queen gave the necklace to magician's wife. The magician came with his wife and his two children, and the children started asking for this necklace, which the queen gave to this magician's wife, and then one of them snatched this necklace, and another one, you know, trying to get this necklace from him, and all of a sudden they started fighting with each other, and they killed each other. These two little children in front of everyone, and then, you know, the mother sees that the two children are dead, and she kills herself. And then magician, he becomes completely morose, and he kills himself. And, you know, all of a sudden in the court, you know, there are 4 dead bodies, and everyone is completely, you know, and then everyone goes home after this so-called entertainment. And then 1 week later, the king gets the letter, and the magician says, you know, how do you like our show? And by the way, you paid for the first part of the show, but you never paid for the second part of the show. So, and here I am with my wife and these 2 children. It was just a hypnosis. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this lila, Mausha lila, is of this sort. It never happened. It was just a hypnosis. It's the reason for this lila is for atheistic people to still continue to think that Krishna is just ordinary person, and all the Yadavas are just ordinary person, and that happens, and, you know, he's not God. You know, it's very important for Krishna to keep this part of his appearance, so that those people who want to be atheistic would have the facility to remain atheistic. And therefore, he creates this lila of his, you know, him hunters killing Krishna. How you can kill Krishna? But still, the hunter is killing Krishna, and all the others are killing each other. So that's one of the reasons. And of course, Krishna didn't want to, you know, too powerful people, because he came to relieve earth from the burden of very powerful kings. And here he is, you know, his dynasty is very powerful. And, you know, when there are too many powerful people in one place, they become a burden. You know, they're too powerful. So that's the reason, and we have to really be clear that this is not the lila which took place. It's just, you know, Krishna just, you know, they basically went either to their demigod's position in this universe, or to the spiritual world, but this is the, you know, the closure, in, you know, some action, if not action. Regarding the second question, whether all the citizens of Dwarka were liberated, everyone in Dwarka knew that Krishna is God. everyone. Therefore, the sin is there. Dwaraka is not the part of this material world. Dwaraka is part of spiritual world. When Krishna comes, his avatar is nothing. It's not that the Krishna really descends to this earth. He just shows. He just lifts the curtain. The lily is going on. It's like in a theater. You know, there is a curtain. And behind the curtain, there is some lilies going on. Of course, in the theater, it doesn't go on. But, you know, if it, imagine it goes on, then for some time, the curtain is open, and then you can see what's going on. And then curtain is closed, but the lily is still going on behind the curtain. So what is going on in Dwaraka? It's an eternal villa, and all the citizens there, they're, you know, liberated souls, and they're there. And it just shows it how it is, and then it goes, and we're going to see Dwaraka disappears from those. Otherwise, it's an eternal abode. I could translate, no problem. Some people, some acharyas say that you just chant Hare Krishna and don't care. Ultimately, all your senses will be involved and everything will happen automatically. You don't need to care about anything else. And others say, no, you have to do some other things in order to chant properly. So, how to reconcile these two views? And it's a fact. Sometimes they say just here, no need to do anything else. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And you know, and but sometimes it also says that no, there are emotions, as I was saying, you know, should be. And Srila Prabhupada, in fact, sometimes Srila Prabhupada himself says, just here, just listen to the sound of the holy name. Another time he said you should chant as a little child who's crying for his mother for protection. Oh, please help me. So we were thinking about me. So these both views are there. How to reconcile these both views? The usual way to reconcile this opposite meanings is that there are different people and different instructions are given for different people according to their qualification. Because according to the qualification, you cannot give the same instruction to everyone. The instructions should be different according to the level of consciousness of the person. In the beginning, if you tell somebody who is in the very beginning, just you know, you have to have Bhakti Bhav when you chant Hare Krishna. You know, he says, yeah, very nice. How can I do this? It's not possible. In the beginning stage is that you just have to hear. And the holy name gives actually some experience in the beginning when you just hear. You withdraw yourself from the world, you chant the holy name, you just listen to the sound of the holy name. Everything is there in the sound of the holy name. But then ultimately, you know, we have to understand how to cultivate the feelings. The feelings will come from the holy name itself, no doubt about it. Everyone who started chanting, at one point, you know, he will have some feelings. You know, sometimes tears will come, you know, it comes. But the question is, but most of the time there's no feeling. I chant, I do the same, but feelings are not coming. But still I had feeling, experience is there. Like in Kirtan also, sometimes we chant that the feelings is there, and sometimes, most of the time, there is no feelings. So then, when he comes and he knows that it's much better to chant with the feelings than to chant without the feelings. So this people or this devotee will ask how to chant, how to cultivate these feelings. And for him, this another instruction is there. You know, the Srimad Bhagavatam is there for you to what should take place in your heart when you chant, and this and that. So it's just different levels of instructions according to different levels of spiritual development of people. And people crave for feeling, understand we need feelings. Then you explain to them how to get the feelings, where from to get the feelings, how to make your chanting of the holy name a prayer, and to get the prayerful mood. Therefore, all these prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's simple reconciliation of these two statements.
I have two questions, Prabhu. First question is that the Lord manifests to our desires, like whatever relationship we seek with the Lord manifests accordingly. So, are we supposed to seek a spiritual body, or we already have a spiritual body there, and then when we go, we know, okay, this is my service to the Lord? Or is it that we can also desire that, okay, I want to be the Lord's cow, I want to be the Lord's friend? This is my first question. And my second question is that Prabhupada has mentioned many times that although Garuda is a pure devotee of the Lord and a Vaishnava, still he is a non-vegetarian and it is allowed.
I'll answer the second question, it's easier. First. Yeah, for Garuda it's allowed, for us it's not allowed. When we get the body of Garuda, please eat snakes, no problem. Please. We have a specific body, so the qualification, yes, Jata is not also vulture. He's also a devotee of the Lord, but you know, it's not for us. We have a different. And it is specifically said in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you eat meat, it's not that eating meat is completely prohibited. The allowance is there in the scriptures. But ultimately, it is explained in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lokeria vayami samadhi siva, nityahi chaturna hitatrichodana. That this tendency to eat meat, the tendency to have sexual relationship, and the tendency to drink wine is natural. Of course, anyway, there are some gradations. But you know, nitya hijatorna hitatrichodana. And when Shastra says you can do this under this and this circumstances, you can eat meat from yagya, you can have a relationship in marriage, you can have, you know, some special wine from yagya or whatever. So it's ultimately for you to nivriti rishta, to develop some sense of nivriti. So, but specifically it is said here that if you eat meat in this age of Kali, you will be under the influence of Kali, because you will develop undesirable qualities, cruelty of the heart. Therefore, for human beings, it's not allowed. For Garuda, it's allowed. He will not develop cruelty of the heart. He will only do this as a Lord's service. We will not be able to serve the Lord if we eat meat. As simple as this. We will not be able to really develop this mood, seva-vritti, the service mood, within our heart if we break four regulative principles. That's it. Bhoga-vritti, the enjoyment spirit, will exasperate, will increase in our heart. And we will never be able to change our consciousness, really. That's why. So don't bother about Garuda. Let him eat whatever he wants to eat. We have our menu, which is very good actually. So, as far as this first question is concerned, if you ask me, it is the most difficult question. Because there are different views in our Sampradaya. And I will not be able to reconcile this view so easily. There are some people, and there are some proofs, some pramanas for each of these views, for these both views. One view says that you don't really have a specific mood. You only have the general capacity to develop the mood towards the Lord. And that's why Srimad Bhagavatam is there to explain to you what is the highest relationship with the Lord. And there is definitely validity to this view. I first explained this because Prabhupada was much more into the second understanding. But I first take this. The validity of this view is that we can see that every hero of Srimad Bhagavatam is glorifying what is relationship with Krishna. And Srila Rupa Goswami, while glorifying Lord Chaitanya, he says, Anarpita charim chirat karuna vatirna kalo samarpayitam unatujvala rasam svabhakti sri. Specifically saying who is Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, he gave something which is anarpita, charim chirat. For a long time, nobody gave this. Karunavatirna Kali, you came in this age of Kali to give something which has not been given by anyone else for a long time. Samarpayitam unatojvala rasam svabhakti sri. What you came to give, Samarpayitam, you came to give unatojvala rasam svabhakti sri. You gave bhakti to yourself, but very specific sort of bhakti. Unadojvala rasa svabhakti. Shri, the wealth, Shriya of bhakti, Unadojvala rasa. And Unadojvala rasa, according to the writings of Acharya, is a very specific sort of rasa, specific sort of relationship. So the Lord Chaitanya came to give a very specific sort of relationship. Basically, God with God. And Rupa Goswami is very clear, you know, if we say that he came to give, just service to the Lord, but so many acharyas were giving service to the Lord. Madhvacharya gave Dasya. Ramanujacharya gave Dasya, and some Sakya Bhav, some Bhavas given. They were explaining this, right? It is specifically Rupa Goswami who is following the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who fulfilled his mission. He explains that the ultimate aspiration of every Gaudiya Vaishnava is this very specific rasa with the Lord. And ultimately, the facility is there. So, and there are some other implications of this. The second view is that you already have inherent relationship with the Lord. And Prabhupada was speaking about this many times. And that the proof, for example, there is a proof from Chaitanya Lila about this. This is Murari Gupta. Lord Chaitanya, Murari Gupta is very close friend of Lord Chaitanya. And, Murari Gupta, once Lord Chaitanya in joke said, you are worshipping this Lord Rama, Janakinath. And, but Krishna is Kila Rasamrita Murti, he is the embodiment of all rasa. Why don't you worship him? his worship of him is much higher because there you can come much closer to God and much more intimate, and you can do so much for him. And Murari Gupta, he was trying the whole night, and then he decided to commit suicide because he couldn't. And the Lord, when he came to see him, he said, "No, stop. You're Hanuman. You have this mood of Hanuman, so you cannot change your mood. You already have your established relationship with the Lord. You cannot become anything else. I just did it as a job, as a test for you to see how staunch you are in your relationship with the Lord, and your desire to please and serve the Lord in a certain capacity." So what I want to say is that both views are there in our Sampradaya. Some people are very, adamantly follow one view. Some people are adamantly follow this view. But I think that we definitely all have some mood. We all have some mood. But at the same time, we have this facility to enhance our mood. And no matter what mood we have, if we read about the highest expressions of love, our mood can be enhanced. So basically, I think that some sort of reconciliation to this is that we should read Srimad Bhagavatam with a completely open heart, and we should read definitely Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. And then and try to see all these feelings, and whatever will happen to us in the heart is up to the Lord. Bhakti Vijnana Goswami says that ultimately your relationship with the Lord will be given to you by the Holy Name. But how it will be given to you by the Holy Name? Through the studying and reading of Srimad Bhagavatam and imbibing the mood of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's my answer. Whatever you will get, if you will become the cow of Krishna, it's also nice. You will feed Krishna with your best meal every day, and you will live him with your rough tongue. You will be very happy. So, but if you learn how Gopi love Krishna, it will enhance your cow service to the Lord as well. Your milk will become more tasty. Actually, what we have to understand, spiritual world, this material world is called Jagatara. It's spiritual world is called Avajara. Everything there is feelings. So, and according to your feelings, the Lord will manifest particular form to you, which is completely suitable to your feelings. But definitely, our goal is to enhance our feelings. Everything else is within the purview of God. So we have to learn and to follow the footsteps of those who love God as much as possible, and in this way, our own vow will also develop under their auspice. And then ultimately, Lord Chaitanya gave this Raganuga sadhana. Raganuga sadhana means that you not only meditate on the Lord, but you also meditate on a specific relationship between the Lord and devotee, which is also part of our internal cultivation. Okay, so shall we continue?
Rohan, you can ask a question.
Yes. My question is, in the purport of the current shloka, there is a phrase saying that the living entities are predominated Brahma, whereas the Supreme Lord is predominant predominating absolute. So I could not actually catch this point. So little bit, if you could elaborate on this.
Oh, yeah, this is the point about predominating and predominated. Living entity is subordinate, and Brahma means Aham Brahmasmi. I am the soul. I am spirit. But the misunderstanding which Mayavadi philosophers and personalist philosophers says that Aham Brahmasmi means I am Brahman. Srila Prabhupada says, yes, we are Brahman, but we are specific manifestation of Brahman. We are predominated Brahman. We are spirit soul. Ultimately, we are spirit soul, but we are predominated. But there is Supreme Brahman or Param Brahman, Krishna, and he is absolute, and he is predominating Brahman. So we all Brahman, both Brahman, same nature, but one is predominated, another one is predominating. That's it. Yes. Yeah. Very simple.
Yes, Rohan, it's okay?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so there is another verse.
Okay, just 1 minute. Baba Gai, Hare Krishna. Naya Mataji, Hare Krishna. Prabha Mataji, Hare Krishna. You're all muted. You want to say anything? Hare Krishna, Ramnath, any questions? You are muted, all are muted. Unmute yourself. Baba, you want to say something? Hare Krishna. Okay, we continue.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Murthy Mataji, you want to say something?
No, see, I just wanted to, I was hearing all this time, I just wanted to confirm just one small thing. The Supreme Lord, he is neither birth nor death. But all these things, after winding up everything on this material earth, when he came, he went back to Goloka. But why is this that one hunter comes and he kills him? Why? I mean, there are two different things, no? Why it has been depicted like that? I just wanted to ask you.
It was depicted like that for atheistic people to have this facility to think that God is an ordinary mortal human being. And actually, Gandhari, she cursed him because he was behind the whole, fratricidal war of Kurukshetra, so the same will happen with him. And some people still say that, because he was so sinful, therefore he was killed by a hunter, and he was killed by this inglorious death. So this whole thing is just to give facilities to those people who don't want to believe in God, to continue not to believe in God, because the Lord is very careful to protect the freedom of every living entity. If he wanted, he would be right there. We will see him and he's there, to surrender unto me. No, but he gives the complete facility for everyone to think whatever they want to think, to everyone to think that he's God and he's controller of everything. And therefore, even when he comes, he is very careful not to encroach upon the freedom of such people. If they want to think that he's an ordinary mortal living being, we will enact this lila, and they will say, look, he's just mortal, right here. That's what it is. But the devotees, they understand. There are so many other things which he did, which is completely contradictory to this. He was there the whole war of Kurukshetra, Brahmastras were there, and then some hunter by some little iron, arrow and not even puts you in his heart, in his toe, and he dies. Isn't it ridiculous? You know, Bismuth was putting his arrows, and Bismuth was much more powerful warrior than this hunter. You know, and then this, you know, arrows were piercing his heart, and still nothing happened with the Lord. but then the hunter comes and gives, and Lord says, "Okay, yeah, I am dying, no problem." It's just an act. You know, but still, some people foolish enough to believe that he's just a mortal being. That's what it is.
Yes, Murthy Mataji is fine.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you, Maharaj. My obeisances to you.
Yeah, we can ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Krishna is Lord of Yoga. He is Yogeshwara. He has given many forms of yoga. In Karma Yoga, he has spoken about Nishtha and Sakam Karma. I wanted to inquire, I wanted to understand from your end that to do Niskam Karma, how one can attain to liberation by doing Niskam Karma.
Karma Yoga can never give you liberation. It's very clearly explained in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Karma Yoga will bring you to the level of jnana. Karma Yoga will purify your heart. And in this purified consciousness, you will understand the eternity of the soul. And, you know, but it will not bring you liberation. You will still have to develop yourself in an area of jnana. Karma Yoga is a preliminary stage. And from Karma Yoga, you either can take, when you achieve success in Karma Yoga, you either can take to Jnana Yoga or you can take to Bhakti Yoga. But ultimately, Karma Yoga is just first stage of development. You have to start somewhere. So Karma Yoga is a starting point, and the purpose of Karma Yoga is to purify your heart, to purify your consciousness from this gross understanding that I am the enjoyer of the fruits of my actions. It will not give you higher spiritual realization which will facilitate your liberation. So Karma Yoga is not for liberation. It will bring you close to liberation.
Preliminary stage.
Preliminary stage. Okay?
We can take it.
We continue.
Or he has a question. Okay.
I'd like to ask you, Prabhuji, is there any difference between believers and non-believers in their lifespan? Like the non-believers suffer more than the believers, something like that?
In the lifespan, in their ayu, it is very clearly said in Jyotish Shastra, in Chanakya Niti, in some other places, that your ayu is predestined. There are 5 things which are there determined in the womb of the mother. Your ayu, what else is there? Your bhoga, your experience. Actually, in Yoga Shastra, in Yoga Sutra, it is said 3 things, but it's basically the same. Your educational status, Chanakya Pandit says, but basically your bhoga, your experience of happiness and distress in this form, is predetermined while you are there in the womb of the mother. Your lifespan and your birth, your jati, janma means where you are born, what is the circumstances, what is your family and everything. So these 3 things, to make it simple, are predetermined, and it doesn't matter whether you believe or not. What matters, but we have to understand this, that your ayu, lifespan, is determined if you live your life according to the rulings of the Shastra. If you follow all the rules, then the maximum lifespan which is there, you can live. If you violate, you break the rules, you don't follow the rules, then you may shorten your lives. This facility is there. Most probably you will not be able to prolong it, but you will shorten it. So when people believe, they naturally in God, they naturally live more pure life and they follow, they're more regulated. So there is more chances for them to live the full lifespan which is determined according to their karma. But otherwise, if somebody who doesn't believe in God but still lives a relatively pure life, he will live the same lifespan which is determined to him as a believer. And in fact, those who believe, they may, develop some undesirable traits in their consciousness and shorten their lifespan. That's also possible. Belief is not a 100% guarantee of everything, because beliefs can be of different qualities, different grades. It's not that everyone who believes in God has the first grade face of God, which necessarily will facilitate all the. There's so many people who believe in God. There's people who believe in God and they become terrorists. And then they, shorten their lives and the lives of so many other people. So, and they're completely sure that they believe in God. Still, it doesn't make them any more intelligent. Yeah.
Somebody is asking a question. You can ask the question.
Hello.
He's asking
Hare Krishna.
advice for beginners who have started chanting Hare Krishna.
The advice for beginning to start to chant Hare Krishna is chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Actually, the advice should be the only thing which we should, the only thing which we are in control of is our association. And everything is determined by the quality of our association. So, for those who are in the beginning, we have many doubts and experience is not so great. The only real advice which can be given for this, try to associate with those people who have a lot of understanding and experience, genuine spiritual experience, and that will facilitate you. And try to avoid the undesirable association with those people who are neophyte themselves, have offensive mentality. So that's the most important advice. Don't associate with people who have offensive mentality, and associate with kind-hearted people with clean heart and devoted spiritual experience.
Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I have one question. That the law of karma actually is actually created to teach a lesson, but most of the time people suffer and they do not even know the reason, because the karma which they have done is done in their previous life. So how to understand it? How to learn? How to derive a lesson?
Okay. It's a nice question. Just having something to do with this structure. Still, it's a nice question. The law of karma is given for two purposes. As much as this whole world of creation. First is to facilitate our independent enjoyment. And to facilitate our independent enjoyment, we have to forget why we suffer or why we experience this. Because otherwise we will never be able to feel that we are independent. The first purpose of any living entity, any conditioned living entity who is in this world is to enjoy independence. And the law of karma is facilitating this by not teaching them. So, but at the same time, it teaches them indirectly because it brings about sufferings. And people who suffer, they start asking questions, why? Why did it happen? And if they ask questions, the facility is there to learn from the law of karma, why did it happen? The astrology is there, which explains the cause and effect relationship, how, why this particular thing. But the first idea is to give the facility to enjoy. And if somebody comes and then, he comes here and then he said, don't do this, don't do this, and if you do this, and immediately if this cause and effect is too clear, he will not be able to enjoy the time. He will be paralyzed. You do something little and immediately you get the reaction of this and but no, you can enjoy it with your heart control, but then you will suffer and then you will search for answers. So that's why, otherwise, if it was only to teach you the lessons, then the reaction should come immediately, right? You did something wrong and immediately the reaction would come. But no fun then. In this world. Then God is cruel. Then He just forces us to do this. He doesn't give us the room to do what we want to do. We want to experience our Lording over propensities. It's there. Okay, so we read another verse?
10 more minutes.
Yeah, we can read another verse. Bhavayana Swam Bhavadishva Bhavana Bhavayana Matatha Suvit Patitam Vam Sadguruna Paramam Sadaivatam Yasyanu Vitya Kritino Babhulima. O Creator of the universe, you are our Mother, well-wisher, Lord, Father, spiritual Master, and worshipable Deity. By following in your footsteps, we have become successful in every respect. We pray, therefore, that you continue to bless us with your mercy. The all good personality of God, being the creator of the universe, also plans for the good of all good beings. The good living beings are advised by the Lord to follow His good advice, and by doing so, they become successful in all spheres of life. There is no need to worship any deity but the Lord. The Lord is powerful, and if He is satisfied by your deeds, by our deeds, His lotus feet, He is competent to bestow upon us all kinds of blessings for the successful execution of both our material and spiritual lives. For attaining spiritual existence, the human form is a chance for all to understand our eternal relationship with God. Our relationship with Him is eternal. It can neither be broken nor vanquished. It may be forgotten for the time, but it can be revived also by the grace of the Lord. If we follow His injunctions, which are revealed in the Scripture, of all the times and all places. Yeah. Basically, as I said, here there is a manifestation of very general relationship with the Lord. The citizens of Dwarka says, you are our mother, you are our father, you are creator, you are our creator, our bishop, your spiritual master. And that's basically signifies the very beginning stage of spiritual life. We have to understand that we are dependent. And this understanding that we are dependent on the Lord to bring about naturally the quality or emotion of gratitude. And here this gratitude is expressed in this prayer. So the gratitude is actually the first step in our spiritual development. Because usually when we come to the Lord, we always come with a complete list of what we lack. I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this, and 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 whatever else you want. I'm your servant, so if you want to give me something else, please give me something else. But this is the must. At least these 5 things the must. My health should be good, my wife should be obedient, my money should come in time, this and that. So usually we come in this mentality of deficit, deficient. I like this. I need this from the Lord. But here this prayer teaches us when we come to the Lord, to come to the Lord not with the list of what we don't have, but with the list of what we have. We already have so much. We have our house, we have our family life, the money somehow will come, not enough, but it's okay. We have our food, we have everything, moreover, we have the facility to hear about the Lord, to learn about the Lord, to chant His holy name. So it's actually an important prayer for the beginning, how we should pray. Thank you very much that you gave us already so much. This gratitude, if it will become the overriding emotion in our heart, then Lord will give us more. And if we always say, oh, I know that, this is that, this is that, this is that, there is a little joke, very good joke. Somebody with negative mentality is in a bus, taking bus, with so many people. And he is just cursing everything. My wife is just fool. My son is just so disobedient, and my life is such a hell. And he's saying in his mind what he says. And there is an angel. There is this guardian angel, according to Christian belief, who's behind him. He has a little notebook, and he writes, okay, why doesn't he? Very strange wish list. What can we do if he wants this? So, when we are in this frame of mind, everything is bad, everything is lagging, everything is bad, then our life will be like this. If you come to the Lord and say, oh my God, you already gave me so much, thank you very much, I am very pleased. Thank you very much. I already have this, and more than anything else, I have this human body, I have human intelligence, I have brain, I have 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, I can hear about you, I can chant your name, I still have my tongue. Thank you very much. Thank you will be more. And that's what Prabhupada explains, that ultimately, if you are good, Krishna is there to give you more. It's not a stingy, nice. He will give you as much as necessary. And, as I said, it's an important prayer for the beginning to understand what should be our frame of consciousness and then approach the Lord. Okay. So finish now?
We will thank Maharaj for a very nice session we had, and we all request him to come back again.
Thank you. We arrange a greeting as the citizens of Dwarka, right, to Krishna. We can see that. It's a joke.